Hello there, this is Z Eclipse Gaming. I wanted to show this. I've been trying to think of doing a post-apocalypse RPG, and I found this book. It's called Black Tides and War Rigs. It looks pretty much right up the alley for like a Mad Max style game, right? And I love the intro for it. There's one word that's hard for me to pronounce, though, Germangandar. I know what it is, but it's just really hard to pronounce, so bear with me. Welcome to the end. The earth is painted in blood. The seas are tinted black with oil. The old civilization is in ruins. Tribes and cults of unholy madmen fight for what is left. The storytellers say the sons of man forced Jormungandr to let loose his tail, drowning them in their own filth, kick-starting Ragnarok. The ancients drilled the earth and polluted the skies with their infernal rites, the blackest of all magic. Rivers carried their chemicals and plastics to the oceans, as factory farms destroyed the plains. Nature struck back. Cities collapsed into sinkholes. Tidal waves swallowed entire countries. Viruses and plagues swept over the world as if King Death himself was raking his scythe across the world. After the fall, tides of black death endlessly poured into the seas from the ocean floors, below abandoned oil rigs and fault line ruptures. Populations were reduced. Those that were left of the preppers, militaries, and a lucky few banded together into gangs. As generations passed, the gangs grew into tribes. The old world was forgotten. Rituals and ceremonies were brought back from the lost age by shamans and priests. War chiefs were baptized in blood and anointed with motor oil. Gods were reimagined and reborn. New empires rose from the ashes of the old. Men of myth and legend returned to the world. The ancient was new again. What remains of the old world was lost to legends and misinterpreted truths. The decayed towers left standing were fought over as cities and towns were pieced back together. Recovered refineries along shorelines and in the plains feed machines of war once again. Murder cycles, chariots of steels, and war rigs are harvesters of sinew and flesh, driven by blood-drunk hordes. The black magic of oil has reclaimed its throne as god of gods. Underground cave systems lead to the tombs of the old world. Strip malls, office buildings, movie theaters, and stadiums are now ominous labyrinths and dungeons. Relics and tombs of the old world guarded by peril and wrapped in mystery await rediscovery in their darkened halls. Collapsed road systems are controlled by tribes. Trade routes and warpaths are patrolled by war bands and slavers. Cities and communities ruled by brutal regimes boast of freedom while providing scraps to beggars in blight-covered slums. Kings and queens yield ignorant mobs against rabble-rousers daring to usurp their thrones. Shamans raise the dead as spies raise strongholds from within. Swords and axes split skulls as machine guns provide cover fire. There was an axe age, a sword age, a wind age, and a wolf age. Now there is only this dark age, this Armageddon, this twilight of the gods, this tribulation. These are the final days. So, I don't know, it sounds really interesting, and I'm looking for one sort of with like vehicle rules, because I like that's the hard part for me is like D&D 5e. I can't find like or think of a way to have the vehicles, like you have all these like cars with spikes on them or machine guns or sniper rifles mounted on a car and things like that. So that's the hard part I'm having to sort of formulate with trying to set up this sort of post-apocalypse homebrew. I'm also researching Dark Sun quite a bit in that campaign setting. I think it's kind of very similar. And so, yeah, it's fun so far. And I also did a homebrew once called Vampirics, which was sort of a post-apocalypse, but it was sort of the beginning of the apocalypse. And in that one, there's sort of like a vampire outbreak, but it's like a genetically engineered vampire outbreak. And I had my players run through that, and they didn't know it, but at the very end, they have these Osprey like cargo planes that they're securing a landing zone in London for, and they secure the landing zone from all these other rival factions or whatever. And then these vampires come out, and the vampires are getting loaded up onto the cargo planes. And my players are like losing their minds, realizing that they just allowed the vampires to travel throughout the whole world, and that their employer was actually working for the vampires. And so that was kind of an interesting storyline, and I liked it quite a bit. And yeah, so I'm working on post-apocalypse setting. I will keep you updated. Z Eclipse Gaming out.